This is the last honest look I'm doing on quintessential quintuplets, and rightfully so. I'll be discussing its main character, Fuutarou Uesugi. Now, this video will contain spoilers up through chapter 90 of the manga, but I'll try not to get too deep into plot details. He is the main character, he is the audience surrogate, it's predominantly his perspective we see things from, and his story is cobbled together from the stories of the titular quintuplets, which I've already done videos on. I will be discussing certain personality traits and where they came from, how he has reacted to the girl's extreme personality quirks, and more importantly, how he went from this
"There's no bigger waste of time than ignoring scholastic endeavors for romance"
to "They think we're going out together? Good grief." So that's what it was. How did they even come to that conclusion? There's no way that'd happen.
Yeah, you're right. But girls are obsessed with gossiping about love, so there's not much we can do about it.
Love, huh?
Thinking back on it, you hated this sort of stuff, didn't you? Something about, responsibilities of a student?
Foolishness that cannot be further removed from the responsibilities of a student. That's what I had thought, but lately, I just can't bring myself to ridicule such sincere feelings like I did before. As I think that is an interesting arc. Now, I am by no means well versed in the harem genre. I watched some Tenchi Muyo back in the day, a friend of mine made me watch High School DxD and Monster Musume, but I'm not overly familiar with the tropes of the genre the way I'm familiar with psychological thrillers and shonen battle series. So I'm taking a lot of other people's words for it when I say that Fuutarou is very atypical. Most harem protagonists, as far as I'm aware, are cardboard cutout husbandos that serve as the straight man and audience surrogate for the extreme personalities of the various love interests. Fuutarou fits under those umbrellas but breaks the strict mold by having a personality just as extreme as the Quints. He's self-absorbed, snobby, irritable, vindictive, nosy, and acts like a massive prick. He's a loner, but whereas Ryuji from Toradora is a loner because he looked scary and so few people actually took the time to know him, Fuutarou is a loner because he thinks he's better than you and believes that friendship and romance are superfluous, and any teenager that dwells on such things is doomed to peak in high school. At least that's where he starts. The other major thing the series does to break the mold is focus on the girls themselves. In other harems, the girls only coincidentally know each other, with the main protagonist acting as the glue that holds them together. The best you can expect is for various love interests to be genuine friends with each other like they are in High School DxD, but here all 5 love interests also happen to be sisters, and their bond as quintuplets is much more important than any romantic feelings they might develop for Fuutarou. That love for Fuutarou just happens to be one thing they all have in common, so let's actually get into his deal. We know he was always smart, just didn't really apply himself correctly. He was born to a poor family, and that family is swamped with debts, made even harder by the fact that Fuutarou's as of yet unnamed mother passed away when he was still pretty young. Surprisingly enough, he was a bit of a bad boy for a while, yet another thing that distinguishes him from the usual leading man. He was a delinquent until one day, during a school trip to Kyoto, he met a mysterious young girl and spent the entire day with her. The words she said to him help him, and the determination she shows to better herself and be an example for everyone inspires Fuutarou to clean up his act. Ironic that he took her words to heart more than she did, yet he didn't remember her name and she remembered his. Not to say he didn't lose his way the same way Yotsuba had, but whereas Yotsuba lost her way trying to gain the approval of others in a misguided attempt to be special and keep any of her sisters from taking from her again, Fuutarou became hyper-focused. He wanted to be necessary, but not to just anyone. He just wanted to help his family, and so anything that doesn't directly help his family's situation gets cut out of his life. We see that with how he deals with lunch, using his intelligence and stinginess to get as much bang for his buck as he can. Same goes with his refusal to help Itsuki. Yes, he's a complete asshole about it, but the way he sees it, the time he would have to take to help a girl study is time he would rather take working jobs to support his family. And he still has aspects of this character trait. He's become a lot more friendly, but still gets frustrated with distractions and arcs as recent as scrambled eggs and Sister War. He'll just want a nice peaceful trip with his family or friends and then get dragged into the Nakano's quintuplet game bullshit. And he falls for it every time because deep down he really does want to help people. And he is pushed along this arc by the fact that the quintuplets remind him of how he used to be and who made him who he is today. In Ichika, he sees what he fears for people who don't take studying seriously. In Nino, he sees a bit of his trouble streak as well as the part of him that loves his family. In Miku, he sees his social pessimism. In Yotsuba and Itsuki, he sees aspects of the girl he met, the one who just wanted to help people and the one who frustratingly wanted to be the example. And so it's fitting that those two are the ones directly tied with the girl in the picture, with Yotsuba being the girl herself and Itsuki being the one who takes the alias of Rena in order to push Fuutarou along. And so what starts off as a series of helping the Quints for pseudo-selfish financial gains turns into genuine feelings of admiration that makes him want to help. During 7 Goodbyes, it becomes too much dealing with everyone all at once and he tries quitting. But then the sisters show how much they've grown and how much they really want him to help by leaving their home and coming to him. They all unite to save him from his loneliness, and when this stuff gets animated, I'll do a full breakdown of the arc. But one thing I wanted to highlight, in chapter 41 he contemplates drowning himself as an extreme measure that would get the sisters to set aside their grievances. And then in chapter 50 he nearly drowns trying to save their keycards, and they show their united resolve by jumping in to save him. From there, he becomes a lot more open and friendly, even eventually making friends with Takeda and Maida. So the next thing I wanted to address is this idea of him being right for the girls. One of the issues the sisters persistently have is the lack of a disciplinary figure. Their mother died several years ago and their father is never home. And these issues spike up when Fuutarou first started, but now only spike up when he's not there. The challenge any of their tutors is going to face is understanding how important they are to each other and all the ways that they are different. Fuutarou picks up on some of these nuances early on. He remembers their favorite accessories and some of their vocal tics, like how each one has a different way of addressing him. He then starts to piece together some studying and handwriting habits, but this isn't enough to truly see through them when they're in disguises. You have to have love. This idea is first offered by Yotsuba when Fuutarou begins to suspect that one of them is the girl in the picture. A detail that, given recent chapters, kinda kicks my heart in the balls. It then becomes the focal point of Scrambled Eggs, with Itsuki and their grandfather offering that advice. And the fact that Fuutarou cares enough to even make attempts at picking up these nuances shows how far he has come. But why? Well, there's fittingly 5 forces at play that push him towards that. The first is the raw net results such actions have given him. Had he not stuck with them for so long without compensation, he wouldn't have been reinstated by their father, and therefore he would still be struggling to support his family. The next is the girl in the picture, who I've already discussed. Then there's Rena, who convinces him that he has become someone who is necessary and therefore has fulfilled his promise. He needed to stop dwelling on the past and see the girls for who they are now, not what they were and not what he thinks they could have been. Next is Nino's confession, which is a tangible event that shows how far they've come. The one who was the most abrasive and judgmental is the first to openly confess to him, and that's something he has a hard time processing. And finally, we have that newfound lack of loneliness. This has come in a couple different ways. Papa Nakano addresses this as a weakness. He has been focusing on the Quints so much that his own grades have begun to slip, and he's no longer top of the class. Fuutarou proves him wrong, saying it's thanks to the Quints that he's able to become a real ordinary person, but is still a genius capable of staying on top of the leaderboard and helping the Quints at the same time, which is exactly what he proves on the mock exam arc. Another way this is highlighted is in the most recent conversation with Rena. He thanks both the her of the past and the her of the present. Without the girl in the picture, he would have been doomed to a life of loneliness. Without all 5 girls, he wouldn't have any friends. Even his new male friends are linked to this. He first met Maida during the bonfire arc because of Ichika and Miku. He first butted heads with Takeda because of Papa Nakano trying to test, and without the alter ego of Rena, he wouldn't have even realized what he had gained through them, and definitely would have never been able to express those feelings. So what are those feelings? Well, he's not dense, and has been able to pick up on a lot of details only to pull the trigger on them later, like figuring out that Rena is one of the Quints after hearing that their mother's name was Rena. He even grouped up with Takeda and Maida to prevent any fighting between the girls. Fat load of good that did him, because Nino had confessed he had discovered Ichika's feelings and already made some correct assumptions about Miku. During 7 Goodbyes, he had a monologue about all the girls, but that was so long ago, so anything outside the base personality quirks is probably no longer viable, especially since he cut off his thoughts on Yotsuba in particular. Neji has stated that the remainder of the story will focus on his feelings, whereas the first 50 or so chapters were all about the girls warming up to and falling in love with him. And if the recent arcs have taught me anything, it's going to take a lot more than a confession to wrap this story up, and thus wraps up this Honest Look series. If you'd like to see similar breakdowns of characters from your favorite anime, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and comment below who you'd like to see a video on. Until next time, I'm Mediocrity4, thanks for watching.